Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 3 of the Simsport Racing ACC Season 3. And what a track we're heading to now. We are in, virtually speaking, the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy at the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, and once again I'm joined by Simsport Racing's very own Steve Proudley. Good evening, Steve. How are you?
Good evening. Very well. Thank you very much, Alex. Looking forward to this evening because I think it's going to be some fast and frantic racing with the 2 short races and 2 very short qualifying sessions.
Indeed. This evening we have 2 sprint races, all both lasting 30 minutes in duration. The circuit was built, they broke ground in 1970 at the circuit here in Misano Adriatico. The circuit itself was previously known as the Circuito Internazionale Santa Monica, and then became what is now known as Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli, named after the late Marco Simoncelli, who passed away a few years ago. But in 1972, it has hosted quite a few events, including Moto E, the World Superbikes, Formula Renault, the Blancpain Sprint Championship, San Marino Motorcycle Grand Prix, and also, of course, the Deutsche Tourenwagen Masters. And it just so happens that Robin Freins, who is also very well versed in the art of GT3 competing, he's also the lap record holder in the Audi RS5 DTM. But Steve, a different circuit here as opposed to what we had last time out here at when we were at Silverstone, and we head to a very technical but very fast-paced circuit here at Misano.
Yeah, very testing for the drivers, and I think not only the change in the circuit type, obviously, I think the timescale where the last round they had 2 hours to do the job. This week they've got 2 30-minute races, as you mentioned, so there's not really much of a chance to recover from any mistakes made, so concentration will have to be 100%, and apexes will have to be hit, and it'll be all guns blazing from the flag to lights, I would imagine.
Indeed. Well, to give you an idea of the tests here at Misano, let's have a look at the hot lap here on Simsport Racing ACC Season 3. Welcome to the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli for a hot lap here on Simsport Racing. As we head down the main straightaway, pulling at least around about 140 miles an hour before dropping down through into third in turn 1, down into second for turn 2, and then the right at turn 3. We're accelerating from second gear 60 miles an hour up to 90 in third, or going on the brakes from fourth at 120 down into Curva del Rio. Now in through the tight right-hander at turn 4 into turn 5, both taken at first and second gear respectively, as you come through third at around 90 miles an hour. Down heading towards turn the left-hand kink at turn 7 before braking at around 150 miles an hour in fifth from 100 metres out, down to second through Curva Quercia. That's turn number 8 at around about 60 miles an hour, accelerating all the way up through to fourth gear before getting on the brakes before turn 9, as you go onto one of the slowest parts of the circuit through Curva Tramonto at first gear 150. Now it's up the gears, up from third into fourth, 120, building the speed through into the right-hander at Corvone at fifth gear, around about 150 on the apex. That's true commitment, and you're going to hit a top speed of around 157 before braking for turn 13, going down to third gear at 104 miles an hour before braking for Curva del Carro, all the way down to first gear, slowest part on the circuit at 45 miles an hour, into the left at turn 15, so one more corner to go as you accelerate up from third down into second through Curva Misano, second gear 80 miles an hour, power through the gears, up into fourth, and you cross the line with the 1 minute 33.78. So we're underway with our first qualifying session here, but it's been quite interesting so far, hasn't it, Steve, in both the championships for both drivers and teams. I know that we've got around 28 competitors with us this evening at this fantastic 2.626 mile, 4.266 kilometre circuit. And there are quite a few drivers that we will be talking about, I'm sure, reference the current point standings. As after just 2 rounds, we had that fantastic event at Silverstone just a couple of weeks ago, where we had Archie Clifford-Roberts take a well-deserved victory and put himself to the top of the the drivers' standings on 146 points. But there are a few drivers that we really do need to sort of keep an eye on, really. I mean, not just him, but also the likes of Lucas Kakos, the only Lamborghini driver in the entire field, Chris Crossman, Kevin Critchley, amongst other people. I mean, there's quite a few drivers. I mean, even Dave Hedges. There's Mark Radbury, who's in the Honda NSX, or as it's known over in the States, the Acura NSX GT3. But there's a lot of possibilities that can happen over these next 2 sprint races here at Misano.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, championship standings wise, obviously Archie's now on top of the stack with 146 points. You've got Steve Haley in second with 118 points. Lucas Kakos, as you mentioned there, third, 115. James Hartnell, 110. Chris Crossman dropped to 108. He's in 5th place, and Kev Critchley in 6th with 102. Just a quick mention on Chris Crossman. Obviously, he was running strongly at Silverstone until he had an issue with his final mandatory pit, where his MFD, multifunction display, where you assign what you wanted to do in the pit stops, it seemed to fail. It glitched on him. He wouldn't allow him to put fuel in, so hence why he had the issues. It didn't count as a mandatory stop, so he had to do an extra pit stop, which dropped him down, I believe, to 13th place in the race. So he was very disappointed with that one. Yeah,
I mean, Aaron Walker's been in the trenches. Both he and Jordan Ruddock were having an absolutely cracking battle, which didn't really sort of start off in the best fashion possible, because I remember Jordan sort of unfortunately outbraking himself and going straight into the back of Aaron, and Aaron gets punted off. But Aaron is 8th in the standings. Abdoulaye Diop and Nicolas Girato, who joined us last time out at Silverstone, they gave really good account of themselves, and obviously we've got Abdoulaye with us this evening. As well as Nicholas. So those are 2 drivers. Jordan's got a bit of work to do from 11th. In the top 20 is rounded out by Sreko Novakovic. Jeffrey Wolf had a good run out last time at Silverstone. Good to see the likes of Gianluca Di Luca, Roberto Santoro, Gerard Barr, and Aaron Martin Pilkington getting some points. But obviously Aaron could have had a better run at Silverstone last time out, but it wasn't to be for the Fordzilla driver.
Yeah, unfortunately, again, he was another one with a technical issue. He seemed to be glitching and lagging, and I believe that's why he ended up disconnecting, which is really sad to see. When he was running very strongly, he was making good progress through the field. Just regarding a couple of drivers you mentioned there that won't be joining us this evening, we've got Roberto Santoro, who's not racing this evening, Gerard De Bar, Jordi Bez, Henry Wardell, Neil Kirkland, Jeffrey Wolf, who you mentioned had a strong race, he's not racing this evening. We've got Ranjiv Kelsey and Chris Pinchbeck, all non-attenders this evening. So we're a few guys short, but we've still got a full grid there pretty much.
That's the way we like it here at Simsport Racing, always having a good grid. The editors lead the championship standings for the teams ahead of BD Racing by just 22 points. Hitotsuyama ran out the top 3 on 199. Then it's Tempesta, Barwell, Apex, Santalock Racing, Team N20, Afro Samurai Racing, and RS Motorsport. They round out the top 10 positions. And then you go all the way down to around 19th spot, where you got Simbro Sport being the and Fordzilla being the last of the scoring teams so far in the championship standings for the teams themselves. But still, there's still plenty to look at this in many respects here, Steve, because we go to Kyalami on the 8th of August, we go to Monza on the 16th. The 30th, we're at Zolder, Spa-Francorchamps on the 13th of September, Laguna Seca on the 27th of September, and then Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona, and of course Paul Ricard. So some great tracks that we're going to be racing at. And with a lot of these, where we've got the 120-minute races, this is where the drivers can really use the strategy call and say, well, I've had a bit of a downer, I'm going to use that one as a drop round, but maybe I might have a chance at a 120-point swing come a particular race itself. So
yeah, absolutely. It's always worth keeping going. We always encourage drivers, just keep going, because you never know. And as the way the point system works with rewarding drivers with more points for longer races, then like you say there, you can soon pick up, if you're lucky enough to win, good enough to win, you can pick up the 120 points, and that can make a massive difference in the championship. You only need one of the other guys to have a bad round. And again, you mentioned the drop round there. Each driver will drop his worst scoring round. So yeah, it's not over until the last round, I don't think.
Yes, very true, until the final checkered flag falls. So we are here in qualifying, and again, Archie Clifford Roberts, or Arch as he's more commonly known to a lot of people, he is leading the way ahead of Kevin Critchley, Chris Crossman rounding out the top 3, and then we've got the number 24. That's of Stephen Haley in one of the 2 Hitotsuyama cars, and then quickly followed by teammate Aaron Walker. And then it's Jordan Ruddock in the 17 Ferrari, as we're coming to the last 70 seconds of this session. So looking very compact there between the top 8, which includes Dave Hedges in the 88 Audi.
Yeah, I mean, I know in practice Archie was doing 32 threes, I believe, so he's done well. We were a little bit sort of sceptical as to whether they would get into the 32s with only a 10-minute qualifying session and lots of cars on the track, but the boys have certainly done it, and as you say, very, very compact, so they should be in for some good racing tonight.
Yep, top 10 separated by just 1.4 seconds, and in 10th position is the driver on your screen, Abdoulaye Diop in the 910, running under the Centerlock Racing colours.
Yeah, Abdoulaye is another driver that goes very well around this track. I know racing against him myself previously. He's very quick round here, and he can hold a good pace. So I think he'll be up there in the top 6, if I can put the commentator's curse on him, maybe. But he'll definitely be in the top 6, I believe.
I'm sure he'll think you will definitely not be flavour of the month after saying that one, Steve. But I mean, just by the hot lap that we saw with Archie Clifford Roberts on the Aston Martin a bit earlier, you got some very, very big commitment corners. I mean, especially Corvone, which is turn 11, and you're going through that at around 150 in 5th gear, and then before turn 13, where you're braking from 6th at nearly 160 miles an hour to 3rd gear at about 105, 110, depending how brazen you want to be around here as the time is clicked down to 0. There's a lot of commitment corners around here and a lot of heavy braking zones, which is really going to test the driver's steely resolve, I think I would say here.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, those faster corners that you were talking about there, sort of turn 11, turn 12, there you've got to be fully committed, and you've got to be on the right line, because if you just get offline slightly, you're off track, and you are going a long way off track. You're going to lose a lot of time. So yeah, definitely, it's a very much a commitment track, and obviously getting into turn 14, you've got to get the apex on that right, because turn 15, turn 16 for the rest of the line, it all builds up from that one corner back to the finish line.
Yeah, very true indeed. I mean, you've got corners such as Variante del Parco, Curva Misano, Curva del Carro, Corvone, which we just mentioned. Tramonto, which is where you're going from, you're going from 4th gear 125 down right all the way down the gearbox to 1st gear on one of the slowest parts of the circuit. But it is about precision, so it's not just about brute speed and making sure that you go up the gears and maximise the rev range, going through Curva Misano. You're going all the way from sort of like 2nd gear on 80 miles an hour on the apex, and you're braking from about 100 meters, 70 meters out of 5th gear, and you're doing double our national speed limit over here in the UK, and then you're going down to 30. It's just like it is like a little bit of a maze here, isn't it? Really,
it is, and you're doing all that while you're looking in the mirror as well. Don't forget, there's somebody trying to get past you. So there's a lot of pressure on these guys, and there's certainly, as I said earlier, they're going to be 100% focused on getting this right, because just like your pronunciations, it's not easy. It's
no. No, it's never easy, and the thing is that doing the for those wondering about these hot laps, yes, I do the voiceovers for them, but it takes me about 3 times to get it right. I think it's just being a stickler for detail, but that's how the guys will be tonight behind the wheel. And obviously, Steve, there were a few post-race penalty points actually handed out to some of the drivers after our race at Silverstone, wasn't there?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously, as it's, joking apart, Simsport takes the driving etiquette very seriously, and we do review incidents whether they're reported or not. We have a chief steward and other stewards that help, and they have laborious task of checking through replays and just looking at incidents. And as a result of looking through the incidents last week, there was 13 incidents investigated. And there were 12 drivers received penalty points on their race license with Simsport, and these range from one driver received 8 points for a lap 1 incident, and then down to one driver received 1 point for a dangerous rejoin. So we do look at absolutely everything, and the drivers respect that. To get just so the guys watching know, the drivers, if they do 2 clean races, they do get a point removed from the license, so they can redeem themselves, and the points aren't on forever. But it's something we take very seriously, as do the drivers. It just promotes clean racing, and it gives you another reason not to make that rash dive bomb into a corner if you know you're going to get penalised after the race, and potentially you may miss a race.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, you have to run it as fairly as you can, because a lot of people will go, well, yeah, I mean, they'll go, well, it's just a game. No, it isn't a game. It's actually quite professional how you guys run this, and seeing all the discussions with the. I'm just going to put you all, for those at home, the amount of channels, chat channels and voice channels that we actually have in the Simsport Racing Discord server is quite impressive. But it's also a good way to make sure that there is a line that everyone has to follow, Steve, that they have to sort of look at the conditions of everything by joining the server. And we are getting people that want to be reserves for this through the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform, which is great. And it's provided us 2 great races so far over the last month or so. But it is about running it right and running it fairly for everybody, as you alluded to, that people might say, well, yeah, but I didn't feel that was fair. Well, hang on, that's the decision. That's what's been made. You've got to live with it and sort of try and improve yourself. So it's a way of improving the drivers, not just as individuals, but also their skill sets out on the virtual racing world, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not, like you say, it's not just on the track, it's about everything that we do, so that we, to run the Discord servers correctly, to run any servers correctly, you're answering the questions before they've been asked. So, when somebody does join our Discord, they're directed straight to the rules of Discord and the rules, our race rules, and they've got to click agree to those before they can get the correct rules to see all the other channels. And then there are the other channels. There's a GT3 channel, GT4 channel, and it's just so that information doesn't get lost, and it's easy for anyone new to the server to come along and they can get to where they need to go to quickly. So it's a growing community, I'm pleased to say. But yeah, we do put a lot of effort in, a lot of work, and a lot of emphasis on trying to run it correctly.
Well, let's go to a brief video before we get the first race. 2 30-minute races here at Misano underway here for round 3 of Simsport Racing ACC GT3. Right, we are back and getting ready for our first of 2 30-minute sprint races here at Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli. And Steve, this is where the action really picks up and gets up another level here, because this circuit has been competed in the daytime, it's been competed in the nighttime, as we've seen with the DTM in years past. But this is where the drivers really have to sort of like think, how can I eke out this strategy to the absolute maximum?
Yeah, obviously, as I always say at this point, they'll be running around there just second guessing how much fuel they've put in, getting the tyre temps right, and the strategy. I mean, it'll be a case of just lights to flag, just go as fast as you can. It is a sprint race, so the strategy will be not to make any mistakes, because, as I said earlier, there's no way really to recover from them. It's just too short a race for that, and every point counts tonight.
Very, very true. So it looks like your order will be... Oh, and we've just... Oh, no. We just had an off-track moment, and one of our drivers has got damage as well. Oh, crikey. That's not what you want. No, yeah, I was just... Yeah.
He's just repeating what he saw in the Formula 1 today, I believe, from Max there.
Unfortunately, he doesn't have about 8 different crew members scrambling all over the front suspension, trying to get the front wing, the uprights, ready to go racing. He's got to now sort of like think, right, that was not part of the plan in many respects.
No, hopefully he'll be able to calm his nerves. Hopefully, if there is any damage, it won't be too severe. He'll just settle himself down and watch for those lights and go again. These lads put hours and hours of practice into as I know you said, to take it seriously. They do literally. They'll spend 2, 3, 4 hours an evening just practicing hot lapping and tweaking setups. So hopefully he'll get himself back into that zone and have a good race.
Indeed. Right, well, air temperature 16 degrees Celsius, track temperature 19 degrees Celsius. It is Archie Clifford-Roberts, Kevin Critchley, Chris Crossman, Stephen Haley, Aaron Walker, Regan Mitchell, Jordan Ruddock, James Hartnell, Dave Hedges, Dean Riley rounding out the top 10, Abdoulaye Diop in 11th, ahead of Rich Smith, Steve Hinden, Lucas Kakos actually all the way down in 15th position as we get ourselves ready. They come round Curva Misano as we await for everyone to get in some form of formation here. 29 drivers on the grid. Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go racing here at Misano. And it is now green, green, green. And we are heading down to Variante del Parco for the first time. Looks like Critchley's got the inside run for the minute, but didn't have that quite quickly going up into the halfway point of Variante del Parco as everyone's trying to get 2 abreast through the second corner. As Archie Clifford-Roberts gets a great start, as we've got, looks like Pixley's got a drive through and De Luca's got a drive through, I think possibly for a potential jump start infringement. So now we head down the back straightaway, and looks like we've got a bit of a replay here, and that was a very, very thread the eye of the needle moment there by one of the that looks to be James Hartnell in the Sky livery car. Ferrari that threaded the eye through the needle. We're making our way towards the far side of the circuit as they've come through Curva Quercia into Curva Tramonto. One of the 3 first gear corners here. But this is where it gets committed now, Steve, as they're now trying to go nearly side by side. That was possibly, I think that might have been, that was Hartnell and Duke going side by side through turn 12. That's incredibly brave from the Ferrari at this particular moment, just 90 seconds into the first 30-minute sprint race here at Misano.
Yeah, James Hartnell, very, very good racer, and Abdoulaye as well. So they'll have had 100% confidence in each other through there, I think. I'm not quite sure myself. I think I'd have been a bit nervous, but those 2 guys know what they're doing. And James will be kicking to make up positions if he can. Abdoulay's not a very easy guy to overtake, very professional racer.
So let's have a look at the replay. Yeah, he goes to... Oh, they have a little bit of a touch there going into the corner. That was rubbing and racing at its very best.
That was letting him know he was there. I think Alex, he was just, I'm here and you can't come back across.
I think that was definitely a Days of Thunder moment there, as in Colt Trickle saying, remember me, back in the day. But now you can see the 2 EBM Porsches of Kevin Critchley and Chris Crossman trying to close on Archie Clifford-Roberts for the lead. The top 3 covered by just over a second and a half. Then it's Stephen Haley and Aaron Walker, the 2 Hitotsuyama cars, running line astern. So it is Audi leading from Porsche and Audi comprising the top 5. Then we actually have 2 Ferraris in the top 10, and that's being led by Jordan Ruddock. Due up in the 4th Audi, as here we now have a replay, and this might not... Oh, no! That is the number 2 Ferrari of Dean Riley that gets turned around there. So, not exactly what Riley actually wanted at that particular moment in time, but that's still... It's dependent on how he comes back from that, Steve, isn't it?
Yeah, again, as we always say, he's going to have to just turn it back around, get facing the right way and get his head down and racing, and leave it to the stewards to have an investigation on that one, and watch the replay from a couple of angles to see if there's any action to be taken. But yeah, for now he'll just be concentrating on getting going again, and probably just finish where he can in this race and regroup for race 2.
As we ride on board with Aaron Martin Pilkington in the 626, Amman Racing TF Sport liveried Aston Martin.
Yeah, it'd be good to see Aaron finish a little bit further up. He's certainly a driver that's very capable of that. Maybe just didn't have quite a good qualifying session as he would have hoped, but I'm sure he'll be pushing on.
I think with how tight the field was in first qualifying here, Steve, it wasn't easy for anybody. I mean, I think the top 8 was separated by, well, covered just by under a second, and we're now going to go to a replay here. Now, this is the 747. Oh, now that was now the 747 Nissan has gone off the circuit. That's Bliv AK, and Joel Diaz, I believe, might have been the other car. No, that might have been Chris Bowman. Chris Bowman in the 12 Mercedes went off at that particular time. So Bowman, I think, just lost the back end, and so did Bliv at the same moment as they come hurtling through Corvone, turn 11. And then it's on the, going through turn 12. We're going to get another replay here. So there are quite a few incidents. And at Schwalden East, Bliv AK gets a punt from behind by the number 26 Mercedes AMG GT3. So in a sprint race, I think one of the biggest things here, Steve, is to try and keep your nose out of trouble.
Yeah, as it is in most races, but like I say, you just got no time to recover, so you just want to keep it clean and keep away. And if someone, from my personal experience, if I've got someone behind me that's pushing aggressively, then 9 times out of 10 it's better to let them go, because you just want to keep a clean race. Battle a little bit, but if they get too aggressive, let them go. I think, from what we saw in those replays, they were maybe genuine mistakes, outbreaking themselves, whatever, but, as I said earlier, they will get looked at. It's good to see that the front group are staying reasonably close together, although Archie is pulling a slight gap, and I believe Archie's done the fastest lap of the race, which is a 33.06, which is amazing for race pace. That's a very, very quick lap for racing.
Very true. I did see that Jordan Ruddock went very, very wide. I think that might have been coming out of Corvone and heading into turn 12. But that's not somewhere where you want to be sort of going off track, because... First of all, for those wondering at home, you can see the marbling on the outside, so the tyres will get pickup. Let's have a look. This is... Oh, now that's Lukasz Kakos. Now, as Kakos... Yeah, he's down in 13th position. So obviously, with some of the incidents a bit earlier on, what's then happened is that backmarker traffic has come quite quickly into play here. And in a sprint race, Steve, that can make all the difference in those trying to make up gaps, because Kevin Critchley and Chris Crossman are respectively nearly 1.3 seconds and 2.5 seconds behind Archie Clifford Roberts respectively. So Clifford Roberts in the 96 Audi doing a great job thus far, but I've been really impressed to see about Haley and Walker at the 2 Totsuyama cars, and then you've got Ruddock in the leading Ferrari trying to chase them down in the 488 GT3. And that's going to be quite an interesting battle, because it is all guns blazing all the way through the next 23 minutes here at race 1 at Misano.
Yeah, and you've got James Hartnell on the back of Diep there. He's not letting go. He's within half a second, so he's obviously clinging and still pushing to try and get into the top 7 there. Yeah, Lucas will be disappointed with that. Dropped down to 13th, as he's reasonably high up in the championship at the moment, currently in 3rd place. So he'll be wanting to maximise his point scoring this evening.
Good also to see Regan Mitchell in the number 69 Black Falcon car, as he's chasing down Dave Hedges for P9. We know that Regan was in the trenches last time out at Silverstone.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention Regan too much. I think I gave him too much chat last time, and I may have been responsible for some of his incidents there, putting a bit of a curse on him. But yeah, he's a very, very capable, competent driver, is Regan, and he should do all right. He's got a difficult task trying to get past Dave, who's also a very capable driver, but I'm sure he'll have a great race.
Very true. And here is James Hartnell in the 168 Tempesta Racing Ferrari, heading down into the Variante del Parco, so in through turn 1, now into turn 2, bumping over the slight sausage curbs on the left-hand side and through the apex of turn 3. And we can just see how committed these drivers are, Dave, in terms of apex speed, braking at the right point, and using as much curb as they dare without infringing on track limits.
Yeah, I mean, they do hours and hours of practice, these guys, and to coin for it, they know what they can get away with, they know how much they can cut.
So we're seeing a replay here, and that's one of the ML Fry cars. That's Richard Pixley. And there's Gianluca Di Luca, who's trying to recover from his drive-through after jumping the start just under 9 minutes ago. As Hartnell now really closing on Abdoulaye Diop, and then the bat. Oh, Mitchell has got past Hedges. So Regan Mitchell up to P9 now. Or is that... No, that's possibly Joao Diaz, I think. Or is that not the case? Because, no, I think that is Mitchell. Is that Mitchell? That is Mitchell.
That is Mitchell, yeah. That's Mitchell.
So, I nearly got myself confused there. The problem is that when you have two drivers running in quite similar liveries, well, pretty much identical liveries, and you just have to try and catch out the number, that's where it gets quite interesting, I might add.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, Dave will be kicking himself now. He'll be trying to cling onto the back of Regan and get that place back. But it looks like Regan may have a bit of pace on him and may just be able to create a gap and get through the field a little bit. But we'll see. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah. Next on this list will be James Hartnell in the second highest place Ferrari. There's Jordan Ruddock in the TP12 Kessel Racing number 17.
I'm just wondering if Mr. Crossman's had a little bit of an incident, because he's now 3 seconds behind Mr. Critchley and only half a second in front of Mr. Haley, so that battle could hot up a little bit.
Yeah, very, very true there, Steve. But I think it's a bit more measured now between from Jordan Ruddock, obviously after the trials and tribulations of his race at Silverstone last time out, as we mentioned earlier. So he's keeping pace. He's only 7/10 off of Aaron Walker at the moment, as we have now 6 laps in the books, and Kevin Critchley is closing on Archie Clifford Roberts for the lead of the race. So the Porsche trying to close up on the 96 Audi. Meanwhile, Ruddock's still trying to close up on Walker for P5. A little bit further down the order, Kakos and Vidago look to be battling away. Giorato's got up to 14th place and is only 9/10 off Vidago, but Ailey now swarming all over the back bumper of Crossman. And obviously Crossman's mistake a little bit earlier on has cost him dearly, and they're about half a second apart as they come across the start-finish line. 0.372 between third and fourth as they head into Variante del Parco, into turn 1, to the left at 2, and you can just see how much work that Stephen Haley is doing behind the wheel of the 24 Hitotsuyama Audi Sport R8 LMS, and now I think Chris Crossman is not just wondering about his strategies. You said earlier, Steve, he's having to look in his mirrors big time.
Yeah, this may be where it starts to cost him time, because I think he's going to have to start driving a little bit defensively as Steve closes right up onto the back of him, and he's looking to make that move on him as soon as possible.
Yeah, but then we can't forget about the fact that the way that these two are battling away, Aaron Walker and Jordan Ruddock are going to close up on them, hand over fist, and if these two start swapping a bit of paint, let's say, there could be a definitive change for at least P4, let alone P3.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously really exciting when you're looking at P3, P4, 5 and 6 potentially closing up and battling for that last podium spot, and Kev Critchley still within a second of Archie for the lead, so it's all hot at the front, and nobody's pacing themselves at the minute. I think they're all going absolutely flat out. Yeah,
I've just noticed that Adam Isalovic in the 111 Ferrari down in 11th position, is just 0.6 of a second ahead of Lucas Capos. So in many respects, that's another battle we need to keep our eye on. Mark Neutelings is trying to close up to Rich Smith for P16. So that's going to be a very, very interesting dynamic there.
Yeah, Mark's another regular at Simsport and a very consistent driver. He'll be sat there and he'll just keep pushing and pushing and put the pressure on Rich, hoping to make a pass as soon as possible.
So down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screens, you can see James Hartnell in the 168 Tempesta Racing Ferrari being closed in on, not just by Regan Mitchell, but Dave Hedges is there too, and they've got... Oh, Dupe has got a drive-through.
Yep, drive-through there for Dupe. That must be for track limits.
Right, so we've had, that makes it 3 drive-throughs. So we had Gianluca Di Luca having a drive-through for I think a jump start, or did not adhere to the start procedure. So that's 3 drive-throughs we've had served already, and we're fast approaching the halfway point. So at the minute, Stephen Haley is closing on Chris Crossman for that P3. They've slightly dropped Aaron Walker, and this is getting really hot and heated under the collar, and Steve Haley looks to be the one that's starting to ignite the fire a bit more here.
Yeah, those shots there through turn 11 and 12 to 13 are absolutely fantastic. Really show the commitment of the drivers and the skill level of just hitting those apexes spot on, so they can maintain that fast pace and running so closely together there.
Right, we've had a brief yellow flag there, which has just been just been cancelled. So, in many respects here, the amount of action that has come through is quite fastidious here, as Steve Haley now has Aaron Walker closing. Oh, bit of a mistake there from Haley, and that was heading through into turn 14, Culver del Carro. So a little bit of a mistake that puts his teammate Aaron Walker back on him, and then Jordan Ruddock, I think, is just waiting with the ringside seat, isn't he, Steve?
He is, and also, I mean, I'm just looking down the leaderboard there, and we've got Regan Mitchell, who made that pass on Dave Hedges. He's now less than 3/10 behind James Hartnell, with Dave Hedges closely in tow. So that's another great battle that's going on track, and it's going to intensify anytime soon.
I think also as a fact of Abdoulaye Diop's drive-through penalty, that's going to put him into, I think possibly, if he gets past Hartnell very, very quickly, Regan Mitchell will be de facto 7th place. As we've just passed the halfway mark here, 14 minutes, 37 seconds to go. And Haley is not letting Crossman go by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and Walker's closed right back up onto the back of them as well. So yeah, it's definitely at least a 3-way battle if it's not going to turn into a 4-way battle. I think Jordan's just driving maybe a little bit guarded, obviously following Aaron, the chap that he managed to take out at the last round, so he'll be very, very careful this week, I would imagine.
But let's not forget that Jordan did do some great manoeuvres as we go on board with. So Duke has 1 lap remaining, and you said it absolutely spot on there, Steve. He's got 1 lap before otherwise he'll get a bigger penalty for not serving a drive-through for track limits infringement. He goes a bit wide there, I think.
Yeah, he's obviously driving a little bit frustrated with himself now. No driver wants to get a drive-through, and obviously track limits, it's just an open and shut case that it's his fault. As we look at Steve now really putting the pressure on Chris there, he's looking to make that move. He doesn't get much closer.
Yeah, very, very true there. So 13 minutes and 24 seconds. Still very much an equilibrium here in the battle for P3. Just noticed that Kevin Critchley is just about 0.8 of a second behind Archie Clifford Roberts, and in many respects, Archie's got a lot to guard, and that includes his championship lead here, Steve. And that's not going to be easy when you have a rear boxer engined Porsche closing on your rear bumper of your Audi.
No, absolutely not. I mean, those Porsches are awesome out the corners and can really apply the pressure. But equally, as Chris is doing, they can become a very wide car and defend. I mean, it's surprising how wide those cars are when you want to try and get past them. But Steve won't be frustrated by that. But this battle is costing them time. They're 6.5 seconds behind Kev now, who's, as you say, he's within sort of 0.6 of Archie. But it's definitely a battle for third place as this. I don't think they'll be able to make up 6 seconds even if he gets past.
Right, well, James Hartnell in the meantime has lost out substantially. He's not only lost out to Regan Mitchell, he's lost out to Dave Hedges as Abdullah Diouf serves his drive-through penalty for track limits infringements. That promotes Lukas Kakos up to 10th place. So it's been quite interesting how the pendulum has swung in case of certain drivers. And if I'm honest here, Steve, Dave Hedges, I think, could be a little bit of a dark horse the way that he's chasing Regan Mitchell down.
Definitely, I've heard him call many things, but not a dark horse. But he'll certainly be just having a watching brief there, and he'll wait for any opportunity, and he will pounce all Dave if he gets it. I mean, quite often when you're in a train of cars like this, that's the best tactic.
Right, so here's a little bit of a replay. Now, that was a little bump from behind, and that is why James Hartnell is down a couple of positions. So he tagged the back of Dube, and that was probably on Abdullah's in-lap there before serving his penalty.
Yeah, that's a little bit. It's very unfortunate, is that obviously for both drivers, but especially James, because obviously he'll be aware that Abdullah was going to be going in for a drive-through, so all he had to do was just sit there and wait for him to pit, and the position would have been his. But obviously, just contact led to that off.
Yep, as they say, rubbing is racing. But Kevin Critchley now is only half a second behind, he was half a second, it's now 0.7 or so behind Archie Clifford Roberts. Stephen Haley, Aaron Walker still trying to hunt down the number 3 Porsche 911 GT3 of Chris Crossman, who's looking to make a further resurgence after a difficult time, as we alluded to earlier on in the broadcast. As now, this is where it's going to get really, really tough, because we're getting into the final third of this race, and it is about who wants to put it on the line more than anybody. And the way that Steve Haley is driving, just by the way that the car is dynamically changing direction, the way that he's applying the brakes, you can tell when a driver's really deciding, you know what, I've got 10 minutes to go, and I'm going to go for it and see what happens. And hopefully I come out on top.
Yeah, and not only that, I think sometimes the Porsche, having experienced it quite extensively, racing it quite a lot, it does change I think a little bit more than some of the other cars, who we're seeing here.
Oh, right, that's the Honda NSX of these. Oh. That's the 75 of Mark Raddenberry, and I think that was Richard. Was that Richard Pixley again? I think. David Parker, yeah. So this is the sister 54 Emil Fry Jaguar there, and then I think that might have been Joel Diaz and the 26 Mercedes that ended up sort of being unsighted and went, right, I've got nowhere to go now, and these kind of things do happen. But I just think in this sort of respect, everything's sort of heating up. The battle between for the lead, the battle for third places. We are now on board with our second place driver at the moment, the number 15 Porsche 911 GT3R 991-2 derivative of Kevin Critchley. And he's getting really, really close now, isn't he, Steve?
He is, and as I was going to say before, just before we saw that replay there, I think the dynamics of the Porsche can change maybe a little bit more than some of the other cars as the race goes on. I think they're affected a bit more by the weight transfer, less fuel in and tyre wear, so maybe Kev's benefiting from that, and maybe Chris is suffering from that. I don't know. It does go both ways. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, it gets really, really close now. That is nigh on bumper to bumper there, as they're going to head through. They've gone through Curva del Carro. They're going to head to the Curva Misano very, very shortly, as we've got 8.25 minutes left on the clock. Let's see who is raising and puts the power down coming out of the corner. Well, they both get really good runs of traction across the start-finish line. That is now onto lap number 15, heading into the Variante del Parco. And you can just see, I think that Archie now knows that Right, I've got a very fired up Porsche driver behind me, and I need to scarper away as quickly as possible. But there's another back marker up ahead, as they're going to go through the left at turn 6, and then head towards Cova Quercia for turn 8. And this is where the Audi starts to stretch its legs a little bit, but then the Porsche comes into its own because, from a realistic perspective, Steve, the Audi and the Porsche, well, the Audi's mid-engine mounted. The Porsche is rear-mounted because obviously it's right over the rear axle and giving direct drive to the vehicle. So a very different characteristic. So one might struggle a bit more than the other, but it's all dependent on who gets that good run and who makes it nice and clean and tidy through the respective corners.
Yeah, the Porsche doesn't have the speed that the Audi has, so obviously Kev's got to keep tucked up behind as close as he can and make that move. If he can in a braking zone or get on the power coming out the corner, he's definitely not going to do it on out-and-out top speed.
Very true. So we are on lap number 15 here at the fantastic Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli. Local time showing, as per the server, 10:31 a.m. Track temperature has increased as we've had a major runoff a bit ahead of Archie Clifford Roberts. So it might have been the back marker up ahead as they are going through the Variante del Parco again. I'm wondering who that driver is. I think it is a Mercedes of some description. Possibly Joao Diaz may be, or is that an Aston Martin in the armour? That is an Aston Martin. And I've got a feeling that might be Gianluca De Luca, if that is the 135 just up ahead. And the key point here now, Steve, is that Archie is going to have to be the one that's going to have to safely get past the back marker, as will Kevin. But it's about who clears the back marker quickest is the one that's going to really profit from the situation.
Yeah, you always hope in this scenario that the back marker is looking in his mirrors, he's watching the blue flags, and he's just going to ease over on one of the straights and appreciate these guys are battling and let them both through. But we don't live in an ideal world. It doesn't always happen, but that's what we hope for. That's certainly what Kev and Archie will be Kev will be hoping for. Archie maybe he'll be hoping for that he just gets past as he starts flashing him, just letting him know he's there.
Yeah, as they go through Corvone, that's a bit brave, trying to flash your lights before Corvone and thinking, well, we're going to be doing nearly 150 miles an hour. He just needs to get out of the blinking way. I mean, come on. As finally, and that is Gianluca De Luca getting out of the way.
Yeah, that's fantastic from Gianluca there. That was really good. He did that pretty efficiently. To be fair, I don't think he could have done much better.
Yeah, and it's not been an easy race for the 135 Aston Martin driver as we head into the final sixth of this race. Less than 5 minutes on the clock to go. Lap number 17, and it is still mano a mano against between Archie Clifford Roberts in the number 96. We're on board with Stephen Haley, who is still trying to chase down Chris Crossman, and the gap now between them is 1.1 seconds, but then Aaron Walker and Jordan Ruddock are now closing in, and these three are separated by about a second from front to rear bumpers respectively, as this is getting hot and heated under the collar, isn't it, Steve? This is what you want in a sprint race.
Absolutely, this is what they're designed for. I mean, when you look in the mirror and you see that car in the braking zone closing up like that, you start to second guess, am I braking too early? But it's just the way it works, and Steve will be trying hard. Obviously, he's wanting to get past Chris Crossman. I don't believe Chris will be holding you up that much. The pace difference won't be that great, hence why it's so difficult for him to get past. But obviously he's looking for that third place to maximise the points from this first race. But absolutely fantastic racing from all these guys.
Yeah, Jordan Ruddock looks a little bit closer to Aaron Walker as we are on the rear wing cam of Stephen Haley from Audi Team Hitosiyama. There is Archie Clifford Roberts. And I must be completely honest here, Steve, that Kevin Critchley has kept Archie very, very honest throughout this race.
Yeah, very impressive that, when a driver like Archie makes a break for it, you don't expect to close the gap back up on him. But Kev did exactly that. He closed right back up on him and he stayed with him and he's putting him under pressure. Again, as I said regarding Steve and Chris, I don't think the pace is so different. So to actually put a move on somebody when you're only maybe lapping a tenth quicker, or if that, it's nigh on impossible if they just keep hitting their lines as Archie is doing.
Yeah, there's Aaron Walker in the 99 Audi Team Hitosiyama colours. Still, this has been very much even Stevens here between this quartet, if I'm honest here, Steve, as we get some great shots. A big thank you to simplyrace.co.uk for providing the live stream once again, as both Walker and Ruddock go very, very much over the, I think the term overcommitment over the sausage curbs there for the pair of them, Steve. But, you know, we're getting some great capture angles here on the broadcast this evening.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic work. It's always a pleasure to watch these guys with the camera angles that we're getting tonight. It really does give you, some of these corners, it really gives you an appreciation of the skill level and the speed and the commitment these guys are putting into this.
Yeah, so we're now coming into the last 2.25 minutes. The gap between Archie Clifford-Roberts and Kevin Critchley still just under 9/10 of a second. Chris Crossman a further 8.8 seconds behind second position, as Aaron Walker goes hustling his way through into turn 13 and 14. It's a great show of pace there from the number 99. But Archie Clifford-Roberts, again, he's been running consistently quick. I mean, looking at his last lap time, a 1 minute 33.984, and then it was a 1 minute 34.050 from Kevin Critchley. So it's nearly a tenth between them in favour of Archie in terms of pure lap pace when it comes to getting into a rhythm, getting yourself in the zone and putting the blinkers on.
Yeah, and I mean, one of our other drivers, Lucas Kakos, is in 10th place, up behind James Hartnell, within 3/10, so he's potentially going to be looking to make a move in these closing stages of this race. Let's see if he can squeeze a few more points out of it. Regan Mitchell up into 7th. It's looking like that's maybe where he's going to finish, barring any mistakes, because he's got a bit of a gap forward and a bit of a gap behind him, so good result for Regan.
Yeah, he's about 2.4 seconds ahead of Dave Hedges. We'll make that 2.5 seconds. As we are now into the last 60 seconds of this first of two 30-minute sprint races here at Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli for the ACC Season 3 for Simsport Racing. And it's been quite interesting so far. The cat and mouse games in a sprint race format as opposed to the endurance ones we've had over the past 2 rounds.
Yeah, I think we've got Aaron Walker just being a respectful teammate there, because he actually got a better run out of that last corner than his teammate Steve, and as you can see, he's right on the bumper, but he's not forced to move, he's just sat there. So not saying team orders are coming into it, I think he's just being a team player and respecting his teammate there.
Yeah, I very much agree. I think one of the biggest rules in racing, even in the sim racing world, is don't take out your teammate. Leader is now on the final lap here at Misano for the first race, as the timer is counting down quite substantially, as we will hit 0 now. That is it. Time is up. So there you have Dean Riley in the number 2 Tempesta Racing Ferrari. Just up ahead is Mark Neutelings in the 666. Team Parker liveried Bentley Continental GT3.
Yeah, great result for Dean and Mark. They've battled up through the field together a little bit. I think they were in the low teens, maybe 20th even at one point. So yeah, they've just kept the head down and kept going.
So very, very shortly we will have our victor crowned, as there is Archie Clifford-Roberts, and again Kevin Critchley looking to try as best he can. But as we've been saying through this, Steve, whenever we've seen it, that Archie Clifford-Roberts in the Audi has got the legs on the number 15 Porsche as they go through Corvone at 150 miles an hour through turn 12 in 6th gear, nearly 160 before they break down to 3rd gear and then to 1st here in Cova del Carro, the slowest part on the circuit, at around 45 miles an hour through into turn 15 in 3rd gear, and then round Curva Misano. It's another victory, this time at the first sprint race here at Misano. It is Archie Clifford-Roberts in the number 96 Audi that takes the win by just 0.463 of a second ahead of Kevin Critchley in the number 15 Porsche. So
yep,
and Chris Crossman takes the final step of the rostrum here in the first sprint race. That was a belter between the two leaders there, wouldn't you say, Steve, all the way through the race? Yeah,
absolutely fantastic racing. Credit to everybody involved there. It was great stuff as we're watching Dean Riley and Mark battling to the flag now. Dean obviously putting the pressure on Mark as they come through the final couple of corners, but he's going to have his work cut out to get past Mark from here. I think Mark's going to take that 14th place, and well done to Mark.
Yep. So in the 666, Team Parker Racing colours, the Bentley crosses the line. So it is Archie Clifford Roberts that wins the race here. Race 1 out of 2 here, as that is a very, very wounded Barwell Motorsports Lamborghini Huracan, as Lucas Kakos trying to crawl it into the pits, and Lucas was running in P10. Now, I'm not too sure if there was an incident involving the Lamborghini, but that really has scuppered Lucas's chances of a really good finish in the points here at Misano. But he's now got to start coming back in the second race a little bit later on this evening, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering if he's run out of fuel or something there, because he didn't quite make it to the pits, did he? I don't think he crossed the line. He's dropping down the order as we speak, so maybe he underfueled. I'm not sure. Only he can tell us after the racing tonight. I'm sure he will. But yeah.
But again, it's another victory for Archie Clifford Roberts, followed by Kevin Critchley. Chris Crossman rounds out the top 3. But what a race here. I mean, that was just... I think they do say, Steve, there is the calm before the storm. And that was the calm. I think we've got the storm coming for race 2 in just a few moments' time.
Well, Kev will certainly know what he's got to do in the next race. Obviously, they're going to do qualifying all over again, so he'll be keen to get on that front row, if not pole position, and they need to get away in front of Archie and just get ahead, basically, because obviously track position is everything in anything whenever you're racing.
Yeah, very much the case. Very much the case. I don't know if we'll try and see if we can grab some words with our with regards to our top 3 here. I know that Archie will not want to be interviewed. We know that for a fact, because he has stated that on his commentator sheet, which I very much appreciate. But I mean, that's a fantastic job from Archie there, Steve. And I think he's going to be going to the second race very, very shortly with a bit of confidence. So we're just going to see. I think we've got somebody in the commentary box. So bear with me a second. I'm just going to. So looks like, yeah. Right, so Stephen Haley joins us. Well, Steve, that was a very interesting... You and Aaron working well together this time out, but you tried to close up on Chris Crossman for P3, and it was getting closer and closer as every lap sort of came around, didn't it?
Yeah, there's just no answer for the Porsche's corner exit, unfortunately. But I managed to kind of close up on him on the straights and whatnot. Just not able to do anything out of corners, unfortunately. But it is what it is.
And heading into race 2, how are things? Obviously, with Aaron did a really good job there as well. I mean, and plus we did see a little bit later on in the race. I think Steve pointed out that Aaron got a really good run, but obviously didn't want to sort of send one up the inside in the latter stages, which would take both of you out. And then you both suffer in the championship as a direct result. Very fair play from him.
Absolutely. I mean, if my tyres were a bit cold, if I'd have been even slower, then I would have had to let him through to let him have a crack at Chris. But race 2, you never know what might happen there.
Well, I think as I alluded to Steve a bit earlier on, there is the calm before the storm, and that was definitely a lot calmer than I think a lot of people anticipate. You agree?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's one of these tracks where it's quite stop and start and whatnot, but where the Porsche is strong, and you just can't do anything about it. But where the Audi is strong, that back straight, it's just that kink and that other little bit of a right kink. It would have been lovely to just have got out around the outside of him there, to be fair, but they just weren't going to happen. Not without trying to, not without possibly destroying each other's cars.
Yeah, exactly. Well, qualifying's underway. Stephen Haley, all the very best of luck and good luck for this evening. Cheers,
buddy. Thank you.
So, qualifying is pretty much getting underway, and this is another side of things, Steve, where they're having to do double the amount of work. 2 two 30-minute races, and then also about the fact that we've got another 30-minute race. That's going to be very interesting, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. I mean, a few drivers might make a few tweaks to the setup. Obviously, some of them will have finished the race there and maybe had a bit too much fuel left for their liking, so they'll reduce the weight a little bit, maybe take a bit less fuel. Tyre pressures, as Steve said there, his tyres running a little bit cold, so maybe he's going to start adjusting a few things, and he may have better pace in the second race. But yeah, I think we're in for a cracker. That was by no means a poor show from the lads. There was some very, very close racing there, and the top 10, top 15, absolute credit to them. I mean, we were that engrossed in those battles. I think we missed maybe a couple of battles further down the field. I kept looking down, and there was a few battles that were within a couple of tenths of each other further down the field. But that's the problem when you've got a field full of guys that know how to race.
Well, for those wanting to get involved with Simsport Racing, you can head to the website at the bottom of your screens at home, www.simsport-racing.com, where you can actually join the Discord server. And if you want to sign up for ACC Season 3, GT3 as a reserve, and maybe get the opportunity to race in one of the next 6 or so encounters over the coming weeks. But Steve, there's an interesting proposition, obviously, with the Assetto Corsa Competizione and Keynes International announcing a GT4 DLC package that has just been announced. It's got 11 cars on that. Is there something coming in the wings from Simsport Racing about GT4 and ACC?
You're such a professional, Alex. I'm glad you linked me into that, because I was going to mention we have announced that we are running a GT4 championship. We are having a test race this Wednesday evening round Zandvoort, and then it will go into a short 5-round championship which will be run every Wednesday evening, starting at 7:30 for 30 minutes practice, then an 8 o'clock start time for a 45-minute race. But the interesting thing is, the first race you will qualify for your grid position, and then this following 4 rounds, the grid will be a reverse grid of the previous week's race finish positions. So we will be running a reverse grid GT4 championship. I'm not quite sure if there are any other communities doing that, but we certainly are, and it's live now. You can join our Discord and you can sign up for that, and there's still a fair bit of space for it. We're looking for probably around 35 to 40 drivers if we can get them on the grid.
Oh, Craig. And how many have signed up so far?
We've got approximately 20 signed up now. So if you can imagine a driver like Archie winning the race, the week after he's going to be starting from maybe 35th, 40th position, depending how many are in there. It's going to really open up the championship.
Oh, that's even better than putting success ballast on cars these days. So.
Yeah, we discussed success ballast, and the problem is it affects different cars in different ways, so there's no perfect amount of ballast to add, because some cars actually perform a little bit better with a little bit more weight on sometimes. The Porsche certainly likes a little bit of weight on it and things like that. So yeah, success ballast is not something we use, but the reverse grid is certainly going to make it interesting, and potentially we're hoping to stream those races as well. So let's just get signed up, guys. If you want to join us, even if you want to come and see what we're about, you don't necessarily have to sign up. You can just dip your toe in the water, speak to some of the guys, and I'm sure once you've had a chat with us and you've been on our practice servers, you'll be itching to get onto the grid with the guys.
I'm itching to look forward to actually seeing it. Wow, that's brilliant. Half the grid are already at capacity. So yeah, head to simsport-racing.com for further information. I think just before we get underway with qualifying is underway, I think we might just go to a brief video before we get things underway here for race 2 here at Misano.
Saw you coming until you turned me around. Used to think I was nothing, but look at this love we found. So give me your hand like you took mine. No, I don't ever want to see you cry. Oh, way up, no more tears. Oh, way up, no more tears. Take that chance, we'll be fine. No, I don't
So we are back, and as you can see, that was our teaser for round 7 at Spa-Francorchamps, which will be an iconic race. And of course, that hosts the Total 24 Hours of Spa, a fantastic race in its own right, Steve. And that's going to really put the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons and also sort the men out from the boys.
Yes, fantastic circuit. Spa, obviously, everybody wants to race there. That is until the Rouge bites you. But you know, it's a great racetrack, and it makes for some fantastic racing with the long straights and the slipstreams, and then obviously the twisty corners. You know, the guys are really quick around there already. We've done some racing there, and you know, look forward to anybody who wants to sign up and join us.
Expect speeds of over 160 miles an hour down the Kemmel Straight, I can assure you of that.
Oh, yes.
As, excuse me.
We're looking at Archie's. I think he's pretty much set the same sort of times he set in qualifying 1, 32.6.
Yeah, 32's. He's parked it like a gun already. Kevin Critchley, Chris Crossman, and look at James Hartnell this time. Up into P4, you've got Aaron Walker and Dave Hedges rounding out the top 6.
Yeah, we've got Regan Mitchell up there in 8th, which is great from Regan.
Oh, this is... I've got a brilliant feeling about this race, Steve. I mean, you know, you look at it, and I'm just trying to have a look at the entire field, and the top 7 separated by 1.005 seconds, and then you look down to 15th, as Kieran Vidago is 2.3 seconds off the pace. And that's a big gap between both him and also Lucas Kakos in the 77 Lamborghini. So you're seeing some positions being separated. I mean, look at it this way. Aaron Walker and Dave Hedges separated by just 24 thousandths of a second on their respective fastest laps in qualifying. That is crazy around here.
I'm just noticing a name that's missing from that top 10 as well. If you can correct me, please do. But Stephen Haley. Obviously,
yes.
Where is Stephen?
Well, also Gianluca De Luca. Yeah. So Gianluca De Luca also not showing up as having. Well, according to my timing screen, there's no lap time from either that's been registered.
Yeah, we've got Abdelay in 21st.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got some big hitters further down the field by the look of it. We've got Bliv AK who's up in 12th. That's a good qualifying result for him. Lucas will be disappointed with 15th. You know, yeah, there's a few guys mixing it at the front that don't normally, and there's a few guys mixing it at the back that probably don't want to be.
Very, very true. So it's going to be an exciting dynamic because we could have. I'm hoping. I am absolutely praying to the race gods above that we have some dynamite action, and I want to see Kevin Critchley try and send it up the inside of Archie Clifford Roberts for the lead, but I want to see the likes of James Hartnell, Aaron Walker, Jordan Ruddock, Dave Hedges, Regan Mitchell come into this absolutely revved up and roaring to go, and we could see that over the next 30 minutes. It is going to be one of those cases where you just think, will we have that opportunity?
I'm sure we will. As you say, they're all going to be revved up. The guys that have qualified higher than they did in the first race will be really seeing this as an opportunity to obviously do better than they did. And obviously then you're going to look further down the field at such as Stephen, Abdelay. They're going to be looking to make their way through, along with Lucas, who's in 15th. So hopefully, you know, racecraft will show. I always think when you get the faster drivers stuck further down the field, it's not about how fast you are, it's about racecraft, because it takes a lot of skill to cut through those, shall we say, slightly slower drivers cleanly, because the last thing you want to do is spin off and compound the fact that you've qualified badly.
Yes, where it's probably that drivers have had a moment in qualifying where they, you know, I know for a fact that Abdelai will probably be a bit frustrated after the last time and has been trying to really sort of eke out as much of the Audi as possible. But then as a result of that has possibly gotten a bit to get, you know, fired up into quali. And then that has caused the 910 to have a moment, as we're now, I think we're very quickly going to be going on to the formation lap. But air temperature is 19 degrees Celsius. Yeah, a couple of minutes. So air temperature 19 degrees Celsius, track temperature 25 degrees Celsius. Steve, in your honest opinion, with regards to the fact that the temperature has increased, we're now, according to the server at local time, at 2 minutes past 3 p.m. With the temperatures being higher, obviously this is going to take into consideration the way that the cars run, obviously the brake and the tyre temperature. Who do you think this might favour in terms of a brand represented on this field?
I think the Audis, to be honest. The Porsches, you already run high tyre temps with them. Obviously, it's all dependent on setup, and these guys are pros. They do it all the time. They'll be tweaking. They save their setups individually for track temperatures, so they may have predominantly the same setup saved several times, but it's for different track temperatures, so with slight tweaks maybe on tyre pressures, and sometimes if it's a really extreme heat, it'll be on brake ducts and even sometimes on the toe, your scrubbing of tyres and things like that. But I don't think we'll see it affecting any one car more than another individually, because these guys know how to set cars up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's also one of the main, that those points you've just put across there, Steve, gives me no indication as to who might actually come out on top of this race, because we know that Archie did a really good job. He kept Kevin at bay. Chris Crossman had obviously some dramas, but he kept it on P3. You know, we had the likes of Aaron Walker and Stephen Haley really being at the sharp end of the field and really going for it. But I think with any race, the unpredictability factor is still very much in the foreground of my mind regarding this race.
Yeah, I mean, again, speaking from experience, the Porsche is the one that I think it's, myself personally, I think it's the easiest one to get the tyre pressures wrong on, and with that I mean overheating them. If you push too hard with the Porsche for too long, you can destroy a set of tyres very quickly. So obviously Kev will be pushing very hard to beat Arch into that first corner, but then it'll be about how measured he can be and consistent throughout the 30 minutes, because obviously if he does beat Archie into the first corner, I don't think Archie will let it go at that. I think he'll pressure him until he gets either back in front or the checkered flag falls. I think we're going to be in some fantastically close racing again.
Right, the countdown continues before we go on the formation lap here. So 10 to go on the clock. Big thank you to those watching on the respective Twitch and YouTube streams, and also Facebook. So we're on Simsport's Twitch and YouTube channels, the Simsport Facebook group, Simply Race Twitch and YouTube, the Downforce Racing Facebook page, the Let's Race Facebook page, the Virtual Reality of the VRRC Twitch, Facebook and YouTube channels, as well as Thrill Junkies on YouTube. And now we get the formation lap underway. So it is Archie Clifford Roberts leading from Kevin Critchley, Chris Crossman, and then it is Hartnell in the 168 Ferrari in fourth place. Then it's Aaron Walker and Dave Hedges, Jordan Ruddock and Regan Mitchell, amongst other people. Then we've got Riley Isalovic, Bliveke, Girato, Martin Pilkington, Karkosh starting from 15th, ahead of Vidago, Diaz, Neutelings, Pixley, Wiggin, Duke down in 21st position, Pratt and Radbury rounding at the top 23. Steve Hinden, Chris Bowman, Ian Tamkin, Daniel Parker, Stephen Haley and Gianluca Di Luca rounding out the 29 cars. And what a place to race at here at Misano, Steve. It has provided such great full throttle commitment from all of the 29 drivers so far, and I think we're only at the tip of the iceberg of what could happen in the next 30 minutes when we go green, green, green.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of the top 4 or 5 runners in the championship will be keen to try and beat Archie, because obviously he's got that lead in the championship already, and they won't want him to start extending that. We've seen him do that in championships before, and when he gets the bit between his teeth, he's a very difficult young man to beat.
Yes, filled with steely determination and a will to win, and that is how you go about championship campaigns, that you try and start at a good rhythm and then you keep that rhythm going. And Archie Clifford Roberts has taken, that is now his second race victory. He won last time out at Silverstone and took over the lead of the drivers' standings, whilst Chris Crossman, having his technical issues last time out, has started to come fighting back, and now he needs to really put pressure on not just Kevin Critchley, his teammate, let's not forget, but also Archie Clifford Roberts. And this is where we're going to see the dynamic of the championship again change. But even though it is only, I think it's 25 points for a win, in each of these sprint races here, Steve?
Yeah, it says just double checking on that for the. It's actually 50 points. Sorry, 25 points. So potential of 50 points for the weekend if you win both races. Yes.
So they are now heading to turn 15 and then cover Misano, the 16th and final corner. So it will be down to Messrs Clifford, Roberts and Critchley to keep the pace going.
Just keep a very close eye on that car number 15 of Kev Critchley on this start. He will not want Archie to get away into that first corner.
No, he doesn't want that that Audi trying to get away like a rat up a drain pipe. As ladies and gentlemen, we go round the final corner and they need to get into some semblance of formation. We are here at Misano for race 2 of round 3 of ACC season 3. We are green, heading down towards the Variante del Parco again for the first time, and this time it looks like Critchley's got a better run, but again Clifford Roberts just manages to shut the door. Hartnell all over the back bumper of Crossman. Walker trying to go round the outside of the Ferrari through turn 3, and Jordan Ruddock nearly made it 3 abreast, but then Hartnell gets the inside run for the next corner. Great start there by quite a few of the competitors as Walker nearly gets passed up the inside by Ruddock, through into the right-hander at turn 5 and then into the left at 6. But what a start already for the top 2 as Clifford, Roberts and Critchley get away and scarper away from Chris Crossman in the early phase of the race.
Yeah, Kev's given us a big lead to the back of Archie now. As I see, Jordan's got a drive through there. Really unfortunate for Jordan. That's obviously going to drop him a long way down the order as the field's so bunched up at the moment still.
Right, so we did have a brief replay. I did see an Aston Martin and a couple of other cars involved, but Joel Diaz... but Joel Diaz now up into P16. He's going to try P19 and trying to chase down Neutelings, I believe. So that is for 16th. That's actually, there's been a few changes. So Diaz is ahead of Neutelings. So Critchley and Crossman's looking even more racy than it was in race 1. We now go to a replay here. And now that is the number 2 Ferrari of Dean Riley that has been turned around on the exit of turns 4 and 5. That's a real shame because now that Ferrari could have damage and is stumbling around the circuit in 22nd position. And look how much they're swarming all over each other here, Steve.
Oh, 3 into 1 just doesn't go, does it? That was never going to work.
No, if you're in the middle, you're either going to get one thing, you're going to be able to keep it there, or somebody else decides to plant it up the inside. I must be honest, as we now have Kevin Critchley being closed in on by teammate Chris Crossman. And when Chris Crossman, we saw it at the first round at the Nurburgring about a month ago, that Chris was on it and could not be touched. Now we see that Kevin Critchley and Archie Clifford Roberts really have come into their own in this championship. But then you have to look behind. James Hartnell being battling away with Dave Hedges, and they're separated by just over 0.3 of a second for P4. Aaron Walker closing on Regan Mitchell for P6. Martin Pilkington now behind Rich Smith in the 76 Lexus. That's for P8. There's battles all the way up and down the field as we go to another replay here. And that is the number 40. Oh, now that is Steve Hinden.
Oh, that looked like Reese Wiggins trying to go up the inside of Steve there.
That was the Optimum Motorsport 667 going up the inside there. And as we said, 3 into 1 doesn't go. And it sometimes is case in point with 2 into 1 doesn't go. As we now head across the start-finish line with Clifford Roberts, Critchley and Crossman. This is a great battle that we're seeing once again, covered by just over a second between the top 3 as they head through turn 1, absolutely going for it. No quarter given, let alone mechanical sympathy, and let alone track limits, because they've got to watch their P's and Q's on that one, Steve.
It does, yeah, and it looks like Mr. Pilkinson's in 9th. He's looking to make a move on Rich Smith. He's within 2/10 there. So some close battling. We've got Steve Haley up into 21st. Abdoulaye Diop, he's up into 11th after his poor qualifying. So we're into 10th, in fact, now. So those guys are making moves and making their way through the field. So don't forget about those guys making it into the top 10 or even potentially top 6, although that's a big ask.
It is, and when you've got 26 minutes still on the counter to go, it is about sort of analysing the situation looking to see where you can improve your lap time, because we all know that when you're in a GT3 car and you're pushing to the absolute limit of adhesion, it is not easy to keep your concentration and focus 100% through any race, because you're either having to look in your mirrors, you're having to look to see, have I got have I put enough fuel in the car? How are my tyre temps doing? Are the pressures all right? Is everything up to speed? Are the brakes good? Have I got a good car under me? As we do see, that is the case with Aaron Martin Pilkington in the 626 Oman Racing with TF Sports. Aston Martin running in 9th place. And here's Daniel Parker. That's a great move. If you get that round the outside, oh no, Daniel Parker, he's going to have to relinquish that, because that was a track advantage there, I must be completely honest. But to try and put that round the outside of Stephen Haley, that was brave at the very least there.
I would say that was a 10 out of 10 for effort, a 10 out of 10 for actually thinking he could do that, his ambition, and a 10 out of 10 for actually keeping it together and not running really wide there, because that would have been so easy to lose it on those marbles. So, all in all, he was very brave, he was very ambitious, and he did well to just to keep it in order there, really.
As we're going to go to a replay here. Here's the 28 Ferrari of Chris Pratt being nudged from behind. And that is Lukos Kakos, who also gets a tap from behind. Well, that's not going to be looked very favourably upon by the stewards, I might add.
No, that was just overspeed on the apex there, with Lucas, by the looks of it, touching the car in front, which caused obviously a big speed differential for the third car coming in, and he collected them all. So that's not great to see. Especially not for Lucas, who had a bit of a bad first race as well.
Yeah, as again, Duke trying to go up the inside of Martin Pilkington. Oh, that's brave, going through turn 12 at nearly 155 miles an hour plus. And you can just see how fired up Duke is in the 910. Oh, and he loses the back end.
He's pushing.
He's pushing like crazy. But look, Adam Misalovic in the 111 Ferrari is not too far behind the 910 Audi. So Duke, even though he's fired up, he's making mistakes. That's the biggest thing. That's what's letting him down. He just needs to sort of calm himself, compose himself, and just sort of let the fire simmer a little bit and go with it with control. As Archie Clifford Roberts has just been in a 1 minute 53.051, another fastest lap for the 96 Audi. As Duke, you can just see that he's. I think he's not only determined, but I think he's also. I wouldn't say the word stressed out. I think just probably a bit frustrated after what happened, not just in the first race, but also in qualifying, and then also the fact that Martin Pilkington is not letting him get past easy, and no other driver worth their salt will let another driver get past easy, especially if it's for position.
Yeah, those two guys, really battle hard, and nobody will be putting more pressure on himself in this race than Abdullah. I don't think he's very passionate about his racing. It's what he does in real life, GT4. So he's got the racecraft, he's got the skill level. He's just got to keep his composure now and put the pressure on Mr. Pilkington and see if he can get past him.
And actually, up ahead, good showing from Rich Smith and number 76 Lexus, currently running P8. And he's 3 seconds behind Aaron Walker, who's looking to have another couple of strong top 8 finishes. And there is Rich Smith in the number 76 Tech 1 Racing Lexus. It's a car that you don't see really used that often on this platform. I haven't seen it used that often at all, to be fair there, Steve. That's a great move from Adam Isalovic up inside of Abdullah Duke for P10. Yeah, so that was a good move in terms of actually taking taking an opportunity there that was quite well presented by Duke, who I think ran a bit too wide, heavy into the curbs there on turn 2. So, and that's just showing how much he wants to really push himself. And as you say, he's a real life racing driver in GT4, Steve. And now he gets himself past Steve Zalovic, and these two are banging door panels yet again.
That was fantastic there from both drivers. Nobody wanted to concede that position, but it looks like Abdullah is going to get the job done. Although Adam is going to have the inside line for this next corner. Abdullah he's got it. He's got it done. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and also just look behind him. They've got Kevin Vidago, who's going towards the inside. Well, he's going towards the outside for the next corner.
Yeah,
Adam Misalovic.
Kieran is another great driver. He put some pressure on them now as well, and in the Porsche he'll have some squirt coming out of that corner there, and he's right on the rear bumper of Adam. This is a fantastic draft opportunity. They're going to go side by side into the fastest corners.
Oh, just the turn of speed through Carbone. Oh, mamma mia, as they would say in Italy. But,
well held.
Kieran catches that slide perfectly there. Well, he lost a bit of ground to the two in front, but Kevin Vidago with one of the best saves. You know, the back end of the Porsche stepped out and he caught it and managed to wrestle it back under control. But then you look behind these two, and this is a battle that's really heating up. It's Pixley versus Diaz for 12th place. And Pixley, that's a really good run from the Jaguar in 12th place as they go into turn one, but then runs a bit wide. Diaz manages to get past in the 26 Mercedes, but Pixley doing a great job in the number 7 Jaguar so far.
Yeah, fantastic. I noticed Regan's still putting pressure on Mr. Hedges as well, with the gap down to half a second, and Mr. Walker half a second behind Regan. So that's 3 cars that are running very, very close together. But yeah, absolutely great racing again. Keep saying it, but it's just right down the field. You've got cars running within a second of each other.
Yeah, very true. That was a little bit of a mistake there, I think, from Aaron Walker. I think he just went in a bit too hot and overcooked it on the brakes. But Regan Mitchell looking very, very racy in the 69 Mercedes AMG GT3 behind Dave Hedges as they go through Carbone. Foot flat to the floor, up into 6th. They're going to go down 3 gears, down to 3rd, 100 miles an hour through turn 13, as that's a little bit of a run wide there from Regan Mitchell. Just going to have to keep that one a bit more under control as we're going to go on a replay here. And that's Rich Smith, and there is Aaron Martin Pilkington. Now Rich loses the back end of the car, causes it to step out, and I think Aaron's got nowhere else to go. He's just like thinking, I can't really get past him, or he could have got past him, but it was just a bit too sudden, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. He was trying everything there, but he had nowhere to go. He couldn't avoid that. As we see how hard Regan's trying as he came out of the last turn there on the grass, and the Mercedes showed its distaste and went a little bit sideways when he got it on the soil, but he's held it together and he's keeping him under pressure. Right,
okay, so we are here with one of the Nissans. Oh, now Rich, now that is Bliv AK in the 747 Nissan GTR GT3 Nismo, getting an unwelcome assist from Rich Smith from behind there on that particular occasion. And again, the 747 of Bliv AK in the trenches. And now it's the McLaren that clouts the Nissan off the circuit. And that's off of turn number 13. And now Bliv AK was in the pits ever so briefly. Lucas Kakos in the pits. Steve Hinden in the pits as well. Giarato, I don't know if they've had any sort of dramas. But they are not running, so we are effectively down to around about 25 or 26 competitors. As again, this enticing battle between Regan Mitchell and the number 69 is trying to close down on Dave Hedges, but Aaron Walker is really doing an astute job. And then you just look a little bit further ahead of Dave Hedges, Steve, and you've got James Hartnell in the 168 Tempesta Racing Ferrari, that fantastic Sky livery on it, just up ahead in 4th place. So I don't think this is just the battle for 5th position. This could be the battle that rages on if they start working together, as Regan Mitchell I think might have other ideas otherwise. They could start working together and try and reel in James and make it a scrap for 4th position as opposed to 5th. That could be a good strategy for them there.
It could be a good strategy, but you just try communicating that to them. I don't think they'll listen. They want that position and they want it now.
Or they wanted it yesterday with VAT added on top of it. But you can just see how hard they are pushing. I mean, both Regan and Dave going a bit wide there. But we go on to the rear right quarter camera of Dave Hedges in the lovely brightly coloured WRT colours. In the number 88 Audi R8 LMS Evo. And this is what you want to see, close quarter action. Everyone's sort of trying to put it all on the table. As you can see that Aaron Walker really closed up on Regan Mitchell through turn 10 there. One of the slowest parts of the circuit. One of 3 corners negotiated via first gear at around 50 to 55 miles per hour. As they're now going through the fastest parts of the circuit. So I think they've already gone through Carbone at turn 11. They're into turn 12. and then down the gears into third through turn 13, back down to first through Curva del Carro. As you can see, the two leaders, and Critchley and Clifford Roberts again have broken away considerably, and they've done it a bit later than last time. I mean, Chris Crossman now is 3.5 seconds away from this battle, but Kevin Critchley really sizing up an opportunity to make sure that Archie Clifford Roberts does not make it 3 wins out of 3 in a row.
Yeah, he's really keeping the pressure on. It's good to see that he's stayed with Archie this time, and with him not giving himself that extra work of catching up. Maybe he's just got a little bit left in the tank this time. Maybe he can push a bit harder. Maybe he can try and make a few moves on Archie and just unsettle him a little bit.
Yeah, I think it is all about just sort of doing the mental psychology, bringing that into the play, because we've seen it before where people will keep the headlights on. There'll be people that will consistently flash them when they get closer to an opponent. And I'm looking at the lap times here, Steve, and the last one from Archie Clifford Roberts was a 1 minute 33.774. Kevin Critchley was 16 thousandths off, being exactly a tenth of a second quicker than a 1 minute 33.690. So the Porsche seeming to come alive a bit more in the favour of Kevin Critchley, and Archie Clifford Roberts still having to do all the hard work, because he's the one that's he's providing. He's punching that hole in the air ahead of Kevin Critchley. Gets really, really close now. I think this is Curva del Carro. They're just coming through turn number 14 into the left at 15, building speed, and then they could be hard on the brakes for Curva Misano. But you can just see how hard both of them are pushing. They are literally using as much power, as much grip, mechanical grip that the car can give them, and a lot of commitment too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we said in race 1. I think the lap time difference is so negligible that it's very, very difficult for for Kev to put the pass on. He's having to do his best just to stay with him, as we see Regan now pushing Dave equally as hard as Kev is on Archie, and I'm sure that Mercedes is looking very intimidating in Dave's rearview mirror right now. If he can see it at all, he can probably only see the windscreen.
You can probably sort of see maybe a flash of green on the rear wing of that Mercedes right behind, and he's probably thinking, that big, because obviously with the ACC system they do have, where you'll have effectively a potential spotter as such, and it's just really a case of saying, like, car on the left, car on the right, that kind of thing. They can use those spotters to their advantage. And that's where Regan's really, really trying to use it. But I'm sure that Dave, being the steely person, well-steeled person that he is, he will be able to keep Regan at bay as much as possible. But what he doesn't want to happen is to have a moment with Regan, then all of a sudden Aaron Walker pounces. But James Hartnell, this gap has closed by a third. It's gone down from 1.5 seconds to 1 second. So I think this is. I think they might have, if they are listening on the commentary, I'm going to say that is a very brave decision if you've decided to work together, because you are reeling in James Hartnell hand over fist. The gap now is absolutely impressive between these 4 combatants here at Misano.
Yeah, it's good to see just how committed they are. Just noticed Aaron there as he came through turn 13, one of the fastest braking points, how unsettled the car gets, and he really hung on to it well. But I think Aaron's possibly in pole position, really just sitting on the back there. As you say, they're catching up to James, and once this turns into a 4-way battle, the best place to be, I believe, is just sat on the back of it, just because any incident, any causing someone to run off line, run wide, Aaron's there to pounce on all 3.
Yeah, we're going to replay now. So this is now there was a little bit of a touch from the 82 McLaren, and that was Ian Tamkin.
Did very well to hold that. That was
I think that was Chris Pratt just up ahead that was the recipient of the love tap from behind, unfortunately. But it's not been an easy one for Chris either. So, but Regan Mitchell looking really good. Oh, Duke's got a drive-through.
Yeah,
Duke's
again,
got a drive-through. Is that for track limits?
It will be, yes.
Right, now, this is... now, the number 76 of Rich Smith getting involved with Daniel Parker that particular time in the 54 Jaguar. That was a proper... that was a bit messy, I must admit, but... Oh, so that was Rich Smith, Daniel Parker, Chris Pratt, and Ian Tamkin. 4 cars involved in that, Steve.
Yeah, we'll wait for the stewards to have a look at that one. No comment.
Thank goodness it's not us.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Abdullah will absolutely be furious that he's got another drive-through. Obviously fought his way up to 9th place, and now to have a drive-through, all that hard work, as he's taking it now, he's just showing us there that he's gone into the pits. Seeing Mark Roddenberry's in the pits as well, not quite sure what that's for. Maybe he's got some damage, but yeah, Daniel Parker, Chris Pratty and Tamkin all down there at 23rd, 24th, 25th. They'll be a little bit upset with that incident, I would imagine.
But then we come back to this battle, and this is a really good one, as Duke now is in the pit serving a second drive-through in 2 successive races. Pixley doing a fantastic job in the number 7 MF5 Jaguar ahead of Dean Riley, the sister Tempesta racing car, as that was a bit close by the Ferrari on the brakes there. You can just see that the Jaguar gets the grunt coming out of the corners, but the Ferrari's well planted coming out, and he gets a good run coming out of the left-hander at turn 6. It's just really great to see the interesting dynamics between cars, how they come out of the corners and how they approach the apexes. As again, Riley trying to go up the inside through Curva Quercia, and might have made the move stick, and then here comes the resurgent Stephen Haley just behind these two, battling away for P12. And that was very close. Pixley manages to get the inside run through Curva Tolamonto on Riley, and Steve Haley looking really, really racy in 14th. He's fired up. He's got the headlights and the fog lights ablaze on that Audi.
Yeah, Steve won't be enjoying the fact that he's in sort of 14th place, but he will be enjoying the racing, if I know Steve. And he'll be sat there now watching these two guys thinking, right, how do I do this? How do I attack them? Because there's nothing more difficult than coming up behind two guys that are already battling, and you've got the pace to pass both of them. It's just picking your moment to do that. But it's fantastic to see the Jaguar up there in 12th place. Another car that's not used very, very often, and it's maybe slightly, on the back foot when it is used. But it's great to see it up there. Richard's doing a fantastic job in it.
Oh, clash between these two. Oh, they're leaving everything on the table, including the paint off of their cars. Bashing door panels are Pixley and Riley there, and here comes Haley trying to go up the inside of the number 2 Ferrari. As he made the move, he might do by the next corner if he's lucky, and he goes a bit deeper on the brakes. So Stephen Haley slingshots past Dean Riley there for position number 13. And now he's got Pixley in his sights. This is what a resurgent drive through the field is. A bit like Getafix out of the old Asterix comics. He's got his scythe and he's just scything his way through the field. As Pixley runs wide, Haley he's got the run. Coming out of Curva Quercia, he's going to have the run through for turn 9. I think he might have made the move stick. No, he's towards the outside. He's going to try and get the switch back through. This is brilliant racing. But Pixley in the ML5 Jaguar XKRS GT still holding on. This is impressive from the number 7 Jaguar at the moment, Steve. What a great race so far.
Yeah, and we've got Dean Riley and Mark Newlands obviously in close attention as well. They're coming up. I think the Jaguar may be the proverbial cork in the bottle, just holding them up a little bit. But yeah, that's credit to Richard Pixley. He's doing a fantastic job there defending.
Yeah, so this is not over yet by a long shot, as Stephen Haley getting really, really up close and personal with Pixley, as now Riley tries to get back at the Audi as they come down the main straightaway. We've got about 7 minutes and 20 seconds left to go on to lap number 15.
Yeah, it's very difficult when you're following a car that close. Sometimes it can compromise your exit out of the corners, and obviously that was giving Mr. Riley the option there to get a better run than Steve. But Steve's got his lights blazing. He's weaving behind Richard, so he's definitely letting him know he's there if he wasn't already aware.
Yeah, very true. We're on board with the Team Parker Racing 666 Bentley Continental GE3 of Mark Neutelings, and just behind I've spotted the front lights of one Gianluca De Luca. Oh, Pixley runs wide. Haley's trying to go past. Slingshots around the outside and makes the move through. So Neutelings and De Luca will now come on to this battle for what is effectively 12th on the road, as now Stephen Haley gets past Richard Pixley. That was a great opportunistic move from the Audi there in the 24 to get past the number 7 Jaguar. But the Jaguar having a really good slipstream here as they head through Carfone. Oh, yeah. My goodness me, that's brave from Pixley. He's going to put it towards the outside, thinks better of it. Riley trying to close up under the brakes. That is absolutely heart-in-the-mouth moment, I think, not just for Stephen Haley, but Richard Bixley, Dean Riley, and then Neutelings and DeLuca. This is stellar action-packed drama we've got here at Misano here in the second of 2 races here at the third round of the Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Season 3 GT3 here in Italy. Oh my goodness, Steve, I think if this went on for another 10 minutes on top of this, I think I'd be happy as a pig in muck, I think.
What do you mean there's only 5 minutes to go? This needs to go another 30 minutes. Come on.
You try telling the drivers that. I'm sure they go, yeah, we'll oblige. We'll just have it behind closed doors.
Regan Mitchell, look up behind Dave Hedges, still putting the pressure on, and Aaron Walker in close attention. They've just not managed to close that gap up to James still. It's still running around 2.5 seconds, is it?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, this is just absolutely heart-in-the-mouth moments.
Oh, he's done him.
Oh, that's a brilliant move. And
that's a brave move.
That's the bravest of the brave moves there. Through Carvone, and he's gone through at about 155 miles an hour in top gear. Mamma mia! I have lost the words to come out of my mouth right now after that brilliant move from Regan Mitchell. Hand on heart. Fantastic. I think the move of the evening, let alone the season so far. We've seen some great ones, but that was an absolute belter. As now Dave Hedges has got Aaron Walker for close company. So the Mercedes of Mitchell trying to break away. He's got about half a second gap at the minute as they go through Cova del Rio. But yeah, I mean, Mitchell just absolutely licked the stamp, sent it, and went, "Hi, Danny Rick. I hope you've seen that one."
Yeah. Steve Haley now looking at Kieran. Oh, that's not good.
That is not good at all, and that means that Steve Haley has lost. He's going to drop behind Mark Neutelings as a result of that. Maybe even Gianluca DeLuca. Yeah, DeLuca up the inside. So all that hard work from Stephen Haley was just thrown away in an instant, and it wasn't of his own doing, unfortunately. But now he's got just over 3.5 minutes to try and claw back as much time as he can, but that puts him on the back foot, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, the only thing you can take from the situation now is they do score points down to and including 20th place, so he's still going to get some points. So just get his head down and keep going again, and like you say, see if he can make up a couple of positions. Although it's going to be a tough ask, is that one. Be interesting to see what happens between Aaron and Dave Hedges, see if Aaron can get past his brother-in-law.
Oh, family rivalry there. Oh my goodness, the tales come thick and fast. It's a bit like the never-ending story.
I'll just throw that bomb in there. We'll just see what happens.
I think I heard the mushroom cloud explode over my right shoulder there, Steve. I mean, that was perfectly timed. You see, it's not so bad doing all this commentary, Lark, is it? You get a feel for it after. You know, you're getting into the swing of things, my friend. It's good to have you alongside me.
It's good to be here, thank you. And it's great watching this standard of racing as well. The guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, so down into Cova Quercia, as again Walker closing up on Hedges. This battle between the Inter-Ingolstadt battle, I'll call it, as Falterbach starts to get away up the road thanks to Regan Mitchell, who's now 0.6 of a second ahead of Dave Hedges. And this has really heated up. Haley is fired up and he wants blood of several different manufacturer varieties, including Aston Martin, Bentley, and probably a Jaguar in the middle there too. So he might get a Cat as well. But you could just see how hard Haley was pushing through that corner. He just literally launched it over the sausage curbs as Gianluca DeLuca up the inside of Mark Neutelings through turn 8. This is going to be very, very interesting. And I must be completely honest, there was a good bit of spatial awareness there from both drivers, but now Mark Neutelings gets the inside line, or does he?
Oh,
that's close.
no.
Oh, little tag on DeLuca on the right rear corner. Oh, now, Gianluca, this is not the time to be doing donuts, to spin the car around, please.
10 out of 10 for recovery there. It was a good little recovery, but it's a very unfortunate incident. And again, I think that'll be one that the stewards look at. You know, who had the right of way there, who had the line.
Yeah, that's definitely one of 500 of the other. But Dave Hedges now really coming under pressure once again from Aaron Walker. Now, was there a slight amount of nudging there? I'm not too sure, but they did just get past. I think that was Chris Pratt and the number 28 Ferrari that they've just got past, but Aaron Walker might have had I think possibly the slightest of nudges. I didn't really make out whether there was any possible contact there, but it looked like it to me. As we go into the last 60 seconds, I think, as we said earlier about 4 minutes ago, Steve, 47 seconds on the clock to go. What? It's like time has literally been frozen before our very eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I love the strategy of the long races, but the sprint races tonight have been fantastic, and it makes you question, shall we just bin all the endurance races and just do this every week? It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think my schedule might have something to say about that doing every week. But I think the complexity of the championship really does add a really good all-round balance to it. As we head into we've now had the word that the leader is now on the final lap, and once again, and this is where things have changed, because Archie Clifford Roberts here, Steve, is 4 seconds. I repeat, 4 seconds ahead of Kevin Critchley. And I think that Clifford Roberts has just been able to sort of channel, his inner GT3 maestro-ness here to get the job done. And here is our leader going up towards Curva Quercia for the final time here at Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli. This has been an absolute dominant performance for the 96 Audi here.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a punt and say Kev's probably as hard as he was pushing to stay there, to stay with Archie. I think he's maybe made the decision that points count. Kev didn't take part in the first round, so he's used his drop round, so every point is valuable for Kev. So he'll probably just settle for second at this round and come back fighting at Kyalami.
Yeah, which is on August the 9th, if memory serves me correctly. That will be round 4. And there will be a new voice replacing myself. I'm otherwise engaged. So Chris Buxton, aka King Kodiak, you might know him from Virtual GP, will be in the hot seat as we now see round the final corner. Once again, it's 2 from 2 here at Misano, and he flashes the lights, and it's the 96 Audi of Archie Clifford Roberts that, again, this is 3 in a row, wins at Silverstone, does the double here at Misano, and that is only just going to help him so much as Aaron Walker trying to close on Dave Hedges. Critchley in second, Crossman in third, Hartnell will take fourth, Regan Mitchell takes a well-deserved fifth, but it is Hedges that keeps ahead of Aaron Walker for P6 at the flag. And here is Aaron Martin Pilkington in the number 626 Aston Martin, the highest place Aston Martin thereof, coming across the finish line to take P8 ahead of Adam Isalovic in the number 111, but the battle is well and truly on for 12th place, and it is between a fired up Stephen Haley and Richard Pixley as they come through turn 15 for the final time. Joel Diaz takes 10th, Dean Riley will take 11th, but it looks like, yes, the Jaguar's going to hold on. Great run by the number 7 of Richard Pixley to take 12th, a fraction ahead of Stephen Haley by 2.5 tenths, and Gianluca De Luca will take 14th ahead of Kevin Vidago, who pips Mark Neutelings at the flag, and also the recovering Jordan Ruddock. Here's Rich Smith just behind Chris Bowman in the number 12, and that was, if he braked any later, he possibly would have sent the number 12 Mercedes off track. Oh, he clatters into him across the start-finish line. Wow.
That was ambition.
That was the Alex Wirtz moment. Sorry, yeah. I just run out of talent. As Reese Wiggin in the Optimum Motorsport 667 McLaren 720S GT3 crosses the line in 20th ahead of Daniel Parker. Chris Pratt looks like we've had a 30-second penalty post-race for Ian Tamkin, it looks like. So Mark Bradenbury will, as a result of that, take 24th place. So Tamkin takes 23rd. Jupe will end up in 25th ahead of Bliv AK. But Steve, I think really here at Misano, it was what we wanted. We wanted great action. We got it in spades, and there were some great standout performances, I think, from my perspective. You know, Richard Pixley getting a 12th place finish in the MLFI Jaguar XKR GT3. You know, Isalovic having a top 10 finish in race 2. But then, you know, credit where credit is due. You know, Archie Clifford Roberts. He's now going to extend that lead in the championship. Tonight.
I think driver of the day goes to Archie, to be fair, because he just nailed it. He was consistent. He didn't buckle under the pressure, and he was, make no mistakes, he was under pressure from Kev. Kev's no easy racer. He was there and he had the speed. So yeah, Archie, well deserved, well done, and he will take a healthy lead into the to the next round, and I'm sure Kev will climb the championship standings with those results. But some good performances throughout. Dave Hedges defended really well in that race, sort of lost out to Regan, but fantastic racing throughout.
Well, I'm going to now head to the interview side of things, and looks like we've got a couple of drivers to talk to. First of all, 2 successive third-place finishes for Chris Crossman. Chris, good to see you back at the sharp end of the field, but it wasn't as easy as possibly yourself and Kevin Critchley might have thought against Archie Clifford-Roberts over both races.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Archie's extremely fast and he's been putting the laps in all week, so I knew it was going to be a struggle to keep near. Him and Kev were both putting in monster times. So yeah, obviously the first race I had Steve Haley on my back as normal again, putting a lot of pressure on, so I could see that he was faster than me in certain parts. I was just trying to hold my line, and obviously just held on for third. But in the second race, I got a bit lucky in the fact that I didn't have that pressure from Stephen, because I don't think he got a qualifying lap in, because obviously they're so short. So I didn't have the pressure. So the second race was a lot less nerve-wracking, but the first race was, it was a great battle.
And obviously going into Kyalami in just a few weeks' time, I mean, that's a different track from what we've had here at Misano. What are the biggest challenges you as drivers will face in this particular circuit?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit at the end there. But
did I?
From what I heard, it is obviously a very different track. The Porsche is quite good there again, but so is the Audi, so I think it's going to be some good battles there. It's a very different track, and obviously 2 30-minute races. It was very, fast pace on this one, so next time I think it's going to be, I don't know if it's an hour or 90 minutes, I can't remember, but it's a bit longer, so obviously different tactics with pits coming into play for that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chris, congratulations on both third-place finishes in both races tonight here at Misano, and we'll see you at Kyalami.
Cheers, mate.
Right, okay, next up, I think I'm going to have to speak to this man again because with the red mist, if he is still about. Stephen Haley. Well, that was a bit of a fight between you and Richard Pixley to the dying death in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, it was good fun. It's always good to battle and to try and race cleanly and whatnot. Yeah, I got past him the first time. I think it was Pixley. But having a bit of a coming into the first corner with Kieran, he'd obviously braked earlier because I think he was going to let me through because he thought I was quicker, and I just completely misjudged it and had to yank it across, and obviously just unsettled the car, and that just spun. But it was good fun. You have your good races, you have your bad races.
Yeah, well, all the very best of luck at Kyalami in a few weeks' time, and have a good rest of the evening. Well done, Steve.
Thank you. Cheers, thank you.
No problem at all. Right, well, to get involved with Simsport Racing, head to simsport-racing.com. You can join the, you can join us for future things. Obviously, the GT4 side of things. With a half-capacity grid already announced by Steve. I mean, Steve, with the fact that Assetto Corsa Competizione has been so encapsulative of GT3 and GT4 racing in the virtual world, that's a really good sign for things to come on this particular platform, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, yes. And as most guys know that are involved with ACC at the moment, there is a track pack coming out in autumn, I believe, or that's when it's scheduled to be released, which is British tracks, which is Alton Parks, Netterton, Donington, I believe. So add those into the mix as well. And just the first thing that springs to mind is maybe a Ginetta Championship, things like that. It's great. The GT4 cars are getting praise from all the content creators on YouTube, Twitch and everything. I've not really seen any bad reviews of them, and from my experience, I've done a few laps in them and I think they're fantastic cars. They're a little bit more forgiving than the GT3s. You can race a little bit closer with a bit more door rubbing without sending someone off into the scenery. You're not quite on that knife edge. So yeah, jump on our website, as Alex said, or look us up on Facebook. You'll find all the links you need there to get to our Discord channel, which has all the sign-up forms and everything on there, and you can just jump on and have a chat with the guys. There's always somebody on, and they are a very, very friendly bunch. They might not look it when they're racing. They're all very eager to win, but they're a friendly bunch when you get chatting to them.
Indeed. So we're just going to have a look at some of the highlights. This was, I think, the move of the evening here from Regan Mitchell up the inside of Dave Hedges, and that is nothing to be sniffed at all. Aaron Walker still doing a really good job to get a couple of top 10 finishes here at Misano. But I just think that really just shows, I think I did say about Dave Hedges being a dark horse. Let's not discount Regan Mitchell, because that just showed the class of the driver there, just by literally going, I'm going to go apps, I'm going to send it, I'm going to go for it, I'm going to see what happens. Hopefully I make it stick. And Regan Mitchell just went, that's what I wanted. And I'm sure that there's probably a fist pump in the air whilst he was trying to brake and hold the steering wheel with one hand, or hopefully he had both hands on the wheel and managed to celebrate that after the race. But highlights from yourself, Steve, here at Misano. What a great evening.
Oh yeah, I mean it's very difficult to pick anyone out, but yeah, Regan, I'm glad he's just proved me right there after I gave him some hype over the last couple of rounds, and you've actually seen tonight what a consistent and incredible driver he is. He's fantastic. But that goes for a lot of the drivers tonight. Most of the drivers, yes, there's been one or two incidents, but as I said at the beginning of the stream, we will look at those incidents, and if penalties are required, they will be handed out. We take it very seriously. But yeah, the guys have done a fantastic job. It's difficult to pick out any highlights apart from the fact it was just all been very close racing, and we haven't known which way to look because the gaps have been so minimal throughout the field.
Indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for round 3 of Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Season 3 GT3 here at Misano for the double sprint race extravaganza. And the next round itself will take place at the iconic Kyalami circuit on the 8th of August. That is round 4. As I say, I will not be here. I will be otherwise engaged, but Chris Buxton, aka Kim Kodiak, will be replacing me for that race, and I will be back for Monza on the 16th of August. And a big thank you to Simply Race for once again hosting this fantastic broadcast. Thank you for everyone watching on the respective Facebook groups, Facebook pages, Twitch, YouTube pages as well. Thank you very much for watching. It's good night from Steve. It's good night from me. Have a great rest of your Sunday evening, and we will see you back on August 8th at Kyalami. Good night.
Good night.